Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the Vicky Boutin design team, and I'm very excited to continue working with Vicky and also to start my project with the new Storyteller collection. It just arrived a couple days ago, maybe 2 days ago, and I'm going to start working with right away because one, is beautiful, and two, I think a lot of you have received it, so I want to give you some inspiration to get started with the projects. Now, I know, and I'm very thankful for quite a few of you that have asked if I've dropped off my channel, and I haven't. I have been creating content for companies and manufacturers. I've been doing a lot of online classes. COVID has been very good for me for work, but it has taken me away from my channel a bit. So I'm going to try to start adding more content to my page, and I'm starting with this layout. So what I'm going to do is the inspiration for this page comes from the medley paper. That's the paper with all those beautiful, I'm going to say kind of maple leaf leaves on the background, and the paper kind of features a bit of a print, kind of a distressed print on the background of the paper. So I'm going to bring and replicate that onto my layout. For that, I am using this stamp set. It's actually a Bow Bunny stamp set, and it comes from Vicky Shop. I actually bought it from Vicky Shop, and I am using watering can archival ink, and this is a really soft gray ink, and it's actually archival, so that means that when I add the watercolor, it's not gonna run. And all I'm doing is I'm just creating this soft impression of the stamp, kind of creating an inverted L, I'm gonna say on the top left corner of my page. So you're gonna see that I'm not pressing hard when I stamp, just lightly. I want that ghost impression kind of faded, and I'm also gonna add a bit of the impression right at the bottom right corner of my layout. Because like I said, I'm using archival ink, and I'm using actually foundation paper for the background. If you don't know about foundation paper and you're new to Vicky Boutin world, then you gotta go get it. This is a 140-pound heavy cardstock. It's pure white. It has a coating which makes it ideal for mixing mixed media, for using mixed media, and it's just one of the best things that is in Vicky's I'm gonna say world. So make sure you check it out. Now, one of the things that I'm gonna use, and again, it's another thing that I'm gonna rave about, is actually art crayons. And art crayons are fun to work with, they're versatile, and they're super economical. I mean, this set is probably the first set that I got, and it's been 3 years since I've been with Vicky, and I still have not, they're not even a quarter of them I have finished. They've been cracking, but I haven't even used them completely. So if you can afford, and it's an investment, get them, because you can do so many things with it. So going back to the project, so I'm starting with bringing a little bit of that ochre kind of yellowish tone that you see in the fall and also in the picture. So for that, I just scribbled that crayon, and that crayon, if I'm not mistaken, comes from the neutral set. And all I'm gonna do is kind of scribble it on a piece of acrylic that I have on the spot there, and I'm gonna dilute it with water, and that's just gonna make it from that kind of waxy crayon into literally watercolor, liquid watercolor. And all I'm going to do is pick a little bit of the watercolor with a piece of plastic. I am using very pliable acetate, and I'm just going to pick the color and kind of rock it back and forth on my paper. This is what Vicky calls the kissing technique. You can call it the packaging technique, the smooshing technique, and all you're going to do is transfer the liquid watercolor from the piece of plastic onto your page using acetate or anything that, acetate, most likely a piece of packaging. And you're gonna see that once the key to creating this is the amount of water you add to your crayon. So you saw that I scribbled it, I add water. You have to make sure that it's like kind of fluid, so it's really runny for you to be able to pick up the color, put it on your paper, and kind of smoosh the ink. Literally, that's what you're doing, you're smooshing the ink. So you're gonna see that I've added a bit of that ochre tone, all around the L that I have created, and also a little bit at the bottom right of my layout, which I have the other piece of the stamping. And all I'm doing right now is just adding splatters. If you have followed my work, or if you have seen my work before, I'm a fan of splatters. I love the little freckling effect on the page. So I'm gonna set it aside to dry, and I'm gonna repeat this many times. I always said it, the key to working with crayons or any medium is that you have to let it dry. And what I'm doing is I set my little the first layer, and that was just that ochre tone, and I'm gonna set it aside to dry. Once it dried, I'm gonna come in with a second layer of mixed media, and I'm just gonna start building the color. For this, I'm gonna use a little bit of that kind of orangey tone, maroonish tone. I'm gonna add a little bit of gray, and the gray is just gonna bring the tone, not make it so shiny, it's just gonna mute it a bit. And I'm gonna add a little bit of red. That's gonna give me like a deep pink orangey tone, which is the one that is featured on the collection. And again, I am gonna scribble it on my piece of acrylic. I'm gonna dilute it with water, and then I'm just gonna transfer a bit of it onto the areas around the L and on the bottom right corner of the layout. Not much, just a little bit. And then I'm gonna actually add a bit of green. If you see in the paper, it has this tone of kind of teal green. For that, I'm gonna use, again, I'm gonna add a little bit of the teal art crayon, and I'm mixing a little bit of the gray. The neutrals are great to mute the colors, to just create different tones. Again, once I scribble the crayons on my piece of acrylic, I'm gonna dilute them with some water, and then I'm gonna use a piece of plastic to transfer from the acrylic that I have onto my page. I'm not adding tons of color or tons of water, just a little bit is gonna go a long way. Remember, the key is to let the layers dry in between. If you continue working at once, what you're gonna create is, first of all, mud, because you're gonna mix all the colors together. And the second, because you're adding quite a bit of water, you're gonna totally warp your paper. You're gonna see that my paper barely warps. There's a little bit of warping, and you're gonna see it in the end pictures, but not much. And that's because I let the layer completely dry. I don't use a heat gun. I let it dry on its own, so I know the paper slowly, it's not gonna go back to the original state of completely flat, but it's not gonna curl that like really bad. So keep that in mind. Let me take a breath. Now that I've set my little background and it's completely dry, I'm gonna come in and add some details. This stencil here is called the Radiate, I think it's Radiate set, and it's the one that has the circle at the beginning, and I really love that circle, kind of concentric circle detail, that it has like a graphic look, and I thought that it'd be a great contrast to the kind of messy background. So all I'm gonna do is, because my daughter is wearing a jean jacket, I want to bring some of the blue onto the layout. So I'm gonna use the navy crayon from the neutral set and my stenciling brush. So what I'm going to do right now is I scribble the crayon on a piece of acrylic, and I'm coming in with one of Vicki Boutin's stencil brushes. You're going to see that I go on a circular motion on top of the crayon, and I'm kind of collecting the crayon on the bristles of the brush, and then I'm going to go on a circular motion on top of the stencil to create the impression on the layout. Simple as that. It's one of the easiest ways to use our crayon, one of the most effective ways to create mixed media in an easy way, and super simple. And because it's a dry application, you can continue working right away. So you're gonna see that I've added just a little bit of the impression where the picture is gonna sit, and also at the bottom of the, the little stamping part at the bottom where my title is gonna sit. So I'm just gonna set it aside to just make sure that everything is completely set. And while that is working, and while the paint was drying, I was actually fussy cutting some of the leaves from the medley paper. And I really love these leaves. I swear I could get 25 of these papers and I'll be so happy. So I'm gonna say at least half the page. I'm gonna make sure that I have at least 2 of each color, especially the blue. I want one big blue on to be complete, because that's the one that I'm gonna use as the anchor for my layout. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just gonna create layers of paper behind the picture. I'm gonna start with the blue, just because the blue, like I said, my daughter's wearing a jean jacket. I want to pick up on the blue, and for that I'm using patchwork. The B side of the patchwork paper has this blue tone with a little bit of script, which I thought it was perfect. And then I'm gonna use a piece of Wild Child and Mariposa just as layers behind the paper. You saw that I added a piece of chipboard. behind the picture, and that's just gonna give me a little bit of lift from the page. I don't want tons of lift, I just want a little bit to make sure it kind of stands out from the page. Once I put it in place, I'm gonna come in and just start layering the leaves. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow the watercolor, you know, that inverted angle kind of L shape that I have, and with all the leaves, and I'm gonna kind of make them look like the picture is framed by them. And one of the things that you're gonna see me do is foam adhesive. I'm adding different, I don't know if you call it depth or the width, I don't know what you call them, but they're just different sizes of foam adhesive. So that is gonna create these different levels on the leaves when I attach them to the page, because some of them are gonna it's gonna be a little bit higher than the other ones. That's just gonna help me create the illusion of movement, some dimension on the page, which I love. So again, I'm just following. Think of it of the watercolor kind of as a guide to where everything is gonna be sitting. And I know I'm gonna hear some of you that are gonna be like, oh my god, you cover all your watercolor in your mixed media, and I'm okay with that. But let me tell you that this background, it was actually so beautiful that I debated on about covering, but I don't mind it. I really don't mind it, because I think it just brings the little pop of color to the background that you need to make everything stand out. So you're gonna see that I make sure that the blue leaf, remember that I said that I cut one good blue leaf, it's gonna be right at the corner of the layout. Sorry, well, it's the layout and also the picture. That's just gonna anchor and bring some of that blue that I have on the picture forward. So once I have everything in place, and I played quite a bit with the leaves, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, they had some natural movement. I didn't want to hide so much of the picture, so I had to play around with them a bit just until I was happy with what they look like. But you're gonna see that not much changes. Like I said, I just followed the path that I created with the watercolor. And once I have that ready, just because I have the background and the picture and the leaves, I don't need much. So I went in through the ephemera pack, and there's so much to choose from. Oh my god, these ephemera packs are packed. You're gonna love them. So I found that little saying that said your adventure story, and I thought it was the perfect fit for this layout. So that's gonna become my title. And then all I'm doing is pretty much I picked at least one of each of the things to embellish this layout. So I pulled a little ticket from the ephemera pack. I put some of the chipboard. I'm gonna use some of the tabs. These are like washi kind of vellum tape. I actually bring some of that washi tape that looks like a measuring tape, because I love that type of washi tape, and I gotta find another one because I know I'm gonna need a few more because I'm gonna hoard them. So just to decorate this page, and like I said, I pulled a little bit of everything. I went in through everything. I was like, okay, at least one of here, at least one of here, and I'm not gonna need much. Honestly, I'm not one to over decorate my pages. And because I have all that mixed media on the background, you're not gonna need much. One of the things that I am gonna bring is just those little butterflies from the sticker tablet or the sticker book, just because I wanted to help me kind of guide your eye through the leaves, and because they're black, they just create that movement. Now I'm pretty much done with my layout, but I think that I needed to kind of frame it and kind of make it a, like, you know, because the top, all these leaves, I'm making it really heavy at the top, I need to balance my page. So for that, I'm actually gonna create kind of a small inverted L frame at the bottom of the page. So I trim around 1/4 of an inch from the top on the right hand side of my layout. I'm gonna really, all I'm doing is just distressing the edge with a pair of scissors, and then I'm gonna glue it to this paper. And this paper, I don't know if I wrote it down, is the Vagabond paper. The Vagabond is the one that has all that, it looks like collage paper on the A side. The B side has this beautiful blue with, like, I'm gonna say like a kind of a funky line design, and I loved it because I thought it was gonna pick up all the blue that I have on the layout. So that's all I'm gonna do. You're gonna see that right now. I'm just gonna add my lines to journal, and I'm just gonna do that underneath the picture. But before I do that, I am actually gonna bring the stamp set. This is probably one of my favorite stamps from Vicky, and I have all of them. No, I don't have the first one, sorry. I love the sentiments. I'm a person that loves to stamp sentiments on layouts, and this one says, thankful for this I think it's this story or this moment, so I stamped it right on my picture. I am using Altenew Obsidian ink. I just love that it's so deeply dark and it stamps beautifully. And I also added the bottom that says "So in love with you." It kind of looks like a painted brush stroke with some print on it. And that's all I'm gonna do for my layout. I love how this turned out. It was super fun to put together. It took me an hour and a half to put this together, and I love it. And I hope you try it. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I would love to give you a hand. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to check the blog to see more details of the layout, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.